I've sanded this. It's taking out some of the dark spots. It's better than it was. But what you have to remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to be putting a dark stain on this. So as long as all the dirt's off it and the dark spots are off it, you don't want this to be darker than this and this over here to be darker. You want a nice even coat. So what I'm going to do now is I have the materials that I need. I have my stain. I'm going to use an early American. I like this stain. It's by Varathane. There's early American Varathane and there's early American Minwax. Same name, different color, two different companies. So I have my stain. I'm going to use a staining sponge. It's just a medium-sized one here. I have my stir stick for my stain. I've had this forever. I just use it, wipe it off, hang it up. And I have a tack cloth. Now, these tack cloths are awesome. I've already cleaned this. Already cleaned it all off. And you would think it was clean. But I'll just show you. I'm going to take this tack cloth off. And it's just it's safe with any paint surface. It's non-toxic. It contains no wax or silicone, so it's not going to react to your wood. It's not to say that this wood's not going to react, but this won't make it react. But this is a great product. I'll just open it up here. You can buy this at most stores, a couple of bucks. And if you open it up, it's just a sticky cloth. Okay, but they're excellent to use before you stain. I'll just show you. So I've already cleaned this, and you would think it would be clean. So you can see this surface here. It's a nice clean surface. It's a brand new cloth. Just watch. So all I'm doing is just making sure I've removed all the dirt and the sanding dust, and making sure anywhere where there's a sharp line, where this right here where it's routed on the edge and it meets the wood, I always make sure there's nothing in there, because it will show when you're staining. Okay, so for a table that I've already cleaned, let's have a look at the cloth. Just make sure it's all good here. So that's what's on the cloth. So it's always wise to use a tack cloth. You can see the one side is clean, the side I use is filthy. Now if you don't do that, that's what you're going to get in your stain. So you're going to have a chunky stain. And then if you have a chunky stain, you're most likely going to end up spraying, and then you're going to have a chunky finish. You're going to have to sand then. If you have a chunky finish and you start sanding it, you're most probably going to lift some of the stain off. It just doesn't work. So make sure it's nice and clean. The next thing you want to do is you're with your stain. The stain obviously has a pigment, and if it just sits on a shelf, that's all going to go to the bottom. So if you just go ahead and stain, you're going to get a very instant color. So you have to make sure that the stain is stirred well. So I just use my stick, go to the bottom, and you can feel just by moving the stick around that there's stuff sitting on the bottom. So you want to get that off. You want the right color, you want the full color, you don't want a partial color. So just make sure it's mixed really, really well. I've already mixed this one, so I'm just going to give it a bit of a quick stir, just so it's not settling. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, so I have my stain, I have my tools, I don't have a cloth, but I'll get one. So the other thing I use a lot is just the 100% cotton. It's like a t-shirt. You can buy them in bulk. Just wipe off my stain stick. You can see the color. It's a brown color. So we're going to go ahead and stain. So like anything, just like when you were a kid and you were coloring, you always pretty much traced your lines. Well, I did anyways. Traced your lines and then filled it in. So that's what I'm going to do today. So I put my foam brush in there. I'm going to clean it off a bit. And I never just dip it in and start staining. It hasn't absorbed all the stain. You're going to run out of stain quickly. So I let that set for a second. Give it another little bit of a dip. Clean it off a little bit. Okay, and then just like in public school, start tracing. So I'm going to just trace my line all the way around. Pretty simple. Always want to make sure you get right in. You don't want to be missing stain later on. So I'm just doing my edges here. And you can see the stain is carrying a long way because I have my brush or my pad, foam pad, all ready. Okay, so you can see it's a pretty rich color. It's a really nice color actually. Okay, so I got my edges done there. I go around here now. And when you're staining, you don't need to panic. This is hardwood. It's only going to accept so much stain. We're going to be wiping the stain off, but you just don't want to put the stain on and start wiping right away. You want to make sure that the stain is going to absorb into the wood. Take your time, it's not a panic. And what I've always said is if you can't fix it, you shouldn't be doing it. So I'm not really worried about making any mistakes. It's just stain. It's not rocket science. It's always good to work clean. Take your time. It's not a rush. Furniture's been around for 100 years. You don't need to finish it in 10 minutes. Okay. So I've gone on my outer surface, all along where it was routed here. So I'm just go along, make sure I just get the underside a little bit, make sure it's all the way around. Okay, so now I'm going to do the top. Give it another little dip, make sure it's loaded, and I just start here. One straight stroke all the way through. Just let it sit. Don't panic. It's just stain. And we just continue this. Make sure we got it loaded up. Okay. Like I said too, the hardwoods will only take so much stain. There's this real myth people have. They think that it's like painting. If they get a color and they put a coat on and it's not dark enough, people just assume that you can add another coat and it's going to be okay. Well, that's okay for painting because it's drywall. The drywall is going to, that substrate is going to accept a lot of paint. But a hardwood's only going to accept so much, and if you overstain it, and try to put 2 coats on it, and you walk out and you leave it, next morning you come back, there's going to be spots all over it. The wood will reject the stain. It'll absorb it, and once it's absorbed as much as it can, it'll start rejecting it, so it'll start pushing it back up. So you get up in the morning, you think you look beautiful when you went to, when you'd finished or went to bed or whatever, and you get up and there's spots everywhere. Well, that's what it is. The wood will only accept so much stain. It's like me. I only accept so much abuse. Okay, so here we go. Last one. Now I'm just going to give it a little bit of a run through, let it... I want to make sure there's enough stain on there. I don't want to have to play around with this. Okay. There we go. That's bloody lovely. It's a lovely, lovely job. Okay. So pretty simple. So I got the stain on there. It looks brown. It's like it doesn't look the best. Like I said, don't panic. So now I'm going to wipe. I'm going to wipe it to try and get it all even, stain off. You can see the top of this wood. I've got lots of stain on there. It's not accepting any more stain. I'm going to leave it for a second. It's not going to do any damage. But I might as well start working on my edges. You can see just from the edges there alone, it's a very, very rich color. It's a really nice color. And one of the reasons I use M.A.R.CO and varathane stains is I've been using them since I was a kid, literally. I like the product, but most of all, I do work for people. And it's very hard for people to pick colors, pick stains, and all that sort of thing. So M.A.R.CO and varathane pretty much are in every store, every hardware store. So the general public, if they want to pick a color or they're interested in doing something like this, and then they come to see me, they'll tell me that they like it's usually a M.A.R.CO color. It's everywhere, and it's a good stain. I like it. There's lots of other stains I like too, but it's a workable stain. So I've done my edges, and you can see it's going to be a really, really nice color. So now I'm just going to start to wipe this off. Wow. See, that's beautiful. That's going to be a beautiful, beautiful table. Look at that. Yeah, that's nice. Very, very, very rich color. You could see before the color of the wood wasn't the best, but now this is going to be very, very rich when it's done. And the customer's going to be very happy. And like a lot of customers, they tell me just to go ahead and do what I want. So I do. I've done this enough times, I pretty much know what it's going to look like before I do it. So I'm just going to make sure I've got no extra stain sitting on here. I'm going in the direction of the grain. Always go in the direction of the grain. But you don't have to panic. This isn't rocket science at all. I've been doing this since I was a kid. I've made many, 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 many mistakes. But like anything else, you learn from your mistakes. And if you have a profession, you should try to do the best you can. Be the best that you can be in your profession, and let your work speak for yourself. Speak for itself. There we go. So there you go. That's a beautiful surface. I'm just going to make sure now. I'm going to flip my rag to a clean spot, and I'm just going to again wipe it again. Remember, it's hardwood. It's only going to accept so much stain. So I'll keep an eye on this for an hour or so after it's stained, just to make sure it doesn't reject any, because if it does, it leaves spots, and it's, now then you have a problem. There you go. So, pretty simple. That's staining a piece of wood that's been stripped. It's not a fresh piece of wood. I didn't take all the color off it because the color that was in the wood is in the stain I'm going to use. So don't waste your time. Just make sure that it's even. So I hope you learned something today. Again, I'm Mark from M.A.R.CO Furniture Restoration, Refinishing and Repair in Kempville, and I hope you have a great day.